Yeah, right then, that seems fair enough, really.
Hello, proud followers. I have returned as the prophecy foretold. Apologies for my hiatus. My hard drive got completely wiped recently. I had to reinstall everything, and I do mean everything. And I'm still not entirely sure as to why it happened. Google is trying to censor me. I long for the days of sprawling levels, colourful key collecting, and being further away from reality than the politics of your average YouTuber. To get my fix of this, I have played Doom, Duke Nukem, Quake, and Serious Sam countless times, and thanks to our age of communication, I have discovered that I am not alone. There exists a relatively small but dedicated niche market for games like this, and I am most certainly a part of it. Yet every time I see a new game on the horizon which claims to be the genre's revival, it slips on its way down its heavenly staircase and falls into a pit full of rotating saw blades and angry wasps. A good example would be Strafe. They advertised it by claiming that it would be much like Doom and Quake. Hey gang, you know those classic games whose immortal status was based upon engaging gameplay and exceptional level design? Well, we've made that, except an AI clumsily improvises levels in an impressively moronic ploy to slap the roguelite label on our game. And since we don't know when you'll encounter enemies and weapons, we made all the weapons equally shit, and copy-pasted enough of the same rambling zombie enemies to outnumber China. Pixel Titans, have you ever played Quake? Because it's fairly evident that you have no idea why people like it so much. And if Strafe wasn't supposed to be a complete callback to old school shooters, maybe you shouldn't have advertised it as such, you absolute chancers. So naturally, when Dusk came along with very similar claims, I was not filled with confidence. Then they released the first episode and I figured it was worth a shot at least, and I'm so glad I did. I feel like this game was designed based on focus groups consisting entirely of my clones. The game is developed by New Blood Interactive, and it would seem that they operate on a when it's done business model. You can pre-order it on Steam now and play the first episode, of which there will be 3, just like the original release version of Doom. According to interviews with the developers, or seemingly developer, the next 2 episodes will differ greatly in terms of level aesthetic to the first, as the second will take on a more military theme, and the third will just go full on dip your ball bag in a pot of soup mental. The first episode has a very creepy rural theme. It evokes an atmosphere similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There appears to be a disturbing cult whose capture you escape, and they seem to be taking over the local area, including farms, factories, and the titular town of Dusk. Supposedly it takes place in Pennsylvania, presumably because the devs are from there, because why else would you set anything there? The story seems quite interesting. Not that the game tells you any of this though. You just start in a cellar being attacked by 3 guys with chainsaws and the game just lets you loose. We could tell you the story. Figure it out for yourself if you really care so much about story. No matter how tongue-in-cheek you make your overlong introductory cinematics, they're still wasting precious time which could be better spent giving scarecrows a shotgun surprise. This immediately lets you know that beyond intending to make a retro shooter, New Blood understand how to do so. The gameplay is naturally incredibly fast-paced and unrealistic. If you bunny hop, you can break the sound barrier and garnish your journey with a matrix slide under an enemy attack. The mobility is excellent and allows you to dodge any attack in the game if you're skilled enough. I feel like I'm controlling Will Ospreay on a triple shot espresso. On the highest difficulty, outside of the piss take that is Duskmare, the game always remains challenging but fair, and I've never found myself frustrated. But as Strafe proved conclusively, without good level design, your old school FPS will suck balls like a vacuum cleaner. Well, Dusk nails level design so well that it makes you feel guilty for ever doubting that New Blood could pull it off. The levels are large and open-ended, with multiple paths, perfect pacing, and secrets which are genuinely difficult to find. Despite this open design, I never got lost thanks to smart use of landmarks and subtle hints to direct the player. Even the level in a mine, yes, a mine, up there with sewers as levels predestined to be shit, is enjoyable. Not only are the levels explorable, exploring them is genuinely fun and rewarding, and it speaks volumes that New Blood included a secret level. You just don't get those anymore. Imagine explaining that concept to a crusty old EA stockholder. You see, we're spending time and money creating a level that most people won't play because we're making this out of our own passion and love for games and not for an endless pursuit of profit. Something I was very glad to discover was that Dusk has a proper metal soundtrack. Instead of the constant obnoxious techno bollocks strafe assaults you with, Dusk has appropriate atmospheric ambient music and pulse-pounding metal when the fecal matter meets the fan. And it's no surprise when you consider that the soundtrack was made by Andrew Hulshult, the very same man who re-recorded the music for Brutal Doom. Clearly he knows his way around metal instruments, but his work on Dusk proves that he knows how to write his own riffs, since his work on Brutal Doom was a modernisation of old 16-bit riffs, most of which were plagiarised from Pantera. And before you ask, yes, it does gent. It's a good mix of groove metal and industrial metal with a twist of thrash. What the fuck am I even talking about? The weapons are another excellent part of the game. Every weapon feels great to use and serves its own purpose, rather than having a meaningless selection for its own sake. None of them have to be reloaded, but if you hit the R key you can stylishly twirl them, which can actually do a tiny bit of damage if an enemy's close enough. Or you could just, shoot them like a normal person. You start with 2 sickles, presumably a hammer will be added in later episodes. You then move on to a pistol and a shotgun, both of which can be dual wielded when another is picked up. The shotgun itself is deliberately designed to evoke the shotgun used by the Terminator in Terminator 2, complete with a badass reload which I'm just gonna assume doesn't work in real life. There is of course a super shotgun, an assault rifle, a Freudian crossbow, grenade launcher, a hunting rifle, and a riveter, which acts as Dusk's rocket launcher and is as close to the BFG that one can acquire in this game, since it can only be found in secret areas in the first episode. Of course, the real BFG is any given bar of soap. Those one-shot just about anything, because remember kids, cultists don't wash. Things are also spiced up by the occasional fast-firing rune. I'll let you figure out what that does. Overall, the weapon variety is excellent. The enemy variety is also brilliant. Every enemy has unique attacks and varying degrees of threat. They're all enjoyable to fight, although these wee goatee pricks can fuck off. I'm sure their projectile speed is more reasonable on lower difficulties, but I played on the second hardest because I'm a big boy, and on that difficulty, they can fuck off. I have very few criticisms, but I'd like to mention them anyway. Alright, firstly, the soap needs to be toned down, otherwise it's going to get abused like a Catholic schoolboy. Also, the endless mode is crying out for some sort of leaderboard to keep you playing. Lastly, the bosses are just a tad repetitive in that they seem just like regular enemies with more health, since you just have to dodge their attacks. That's not a major complaint, it's just that more may need to be done to keep them interesting as you add more and more episodes. And, oh, one final thing, it is currently possible to just piss off and not bother fighting the Intoxicator. Was that intentional? Because I just thought I should bring that to your attention. To conclude, buy it. This game is phenomenal. It is everything I've been waiting for. This is a great passion project made by people who clearly understand what made old school shooters so good. I can't wait until the next episode is released. I'm Perg, and I still have some secrets to find, so, in the words of Rob Flynn,
You're afraid of wearing with the shotgun, bro!